Hello, hello, and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny. Our Human Design PHS Primary Health series by talking about motivation.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're right at the end of it all. And a lot of things come clear as we start to go through motivation, just about all the rest of it. But I'll get into it on the next couple slides.
Perfect. Well, thank you to everyone who is watching and liking, subscribing, commenting, hanging out with us. We love having you here, and let's get into it. Motivation within human design. Motivation is the underlying drive shaping how you engage with the world mentally and make decisions. This reflects your authentic reason for taking action and aligns your mind with your body's design. This is determined by the Sun Earth personality color, which you can see is the top right arrow and numbers. Over here we have an arrow and I'm circling with my cursor. And so color is typically in a chart indicated the medial number within the circle, and it's in like a yellow circle typically.
Yeah, and this is where we get our best look at a thing we have easiest touch with to recognize there's a helplessness below the line. There's a thing that we get carried along with, and when you start to see your motivation, it starts to answer a lot of other questions about how you have moved through this life so far, and the things that when you hit your motivation, you are jazzed. When you're not, you're transferred, and it's something that you wouldn't even necessarily have words for. So, and it's there. It's percolating away, creating a lens for which your cognition is going to work. Essentially, how you're motivated.
Yeah, and it's really cool because part of, and like the direction that we've done this series is with this PHS journey, the radical transformations as they're called. You start up here with this top left arrow, and that's where you get your physical body and like your brain in order by like taking in food. Like, well, how do you take in food? How do you digest food? So your brain is in order, so your body is in order. Then you move down here to the bottom left arrow here, and that's to get your body in the correct physical place. That's your environment. And then it swoops underneath to this bottom right arrow, and that's perspective, so that you're seeing what you're supposed to be seeing correctly. And then finally, after you get all of those figured out, then it goes into your motivation so that you're acting correctly and appropriately for you after those other three have kind of fallen into place.
Your energy is being burned towards a thing that will deeply satisfy your purpose in this life. Or not, or you're missing it. And so we got to find it for you. It's good. So the thing about color is we do have access to it once we really start seeing it, but once we get below that, there's different sections to get just to line. And the thing is, color is this knuckle. It's this go between. It's a transfer station between the tone and the base below and the line above. Tone talks to color, line talks to color, but tone does not talk to line. It needs color.
It's like an intermediary step.
Yeah, intermediary. That's a word I was looking for. And so as that exalted place, there are things that you could have a whole design with a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of stuff. And as soon as we add in your motivation, it suddenly adds, enhances, and even changes what we know about you at that point in time. The manifestor who's motivated by hope. Well, how come that manifestor is now doing all the time? Well, they're in an active state of hope. Don't you worry. They're gonna do really soon. Type thing, you know what I'm saying? So suddenly it can be a thing that can, as soon as you see it, it'll unconfuse a lot of things about your life.
And I was listening to one of like the raw lectures. He was the projector bitterness lecture. It's really, really good. But he actually talks about how motivation, well, it's important for everyone. It's like extra important for projectors, because as projectors, like we can't, like a generator can immediately practice their experiment, like go out and respond to something. Look, that's your sacral response. You're doing it, and you can immediately have that knowing by having that immediate response. Whereas like as a projector, you're just kind of like, okay, let me just try doing this for a while. And like maybe an invitation will eventually come. So right. It takes a bit longer for projectors to really get that visceral experience of like what human design is and how it can be correct for them. But the motivation can be very important, kind of like a little a little like cheat sidestep secret, thing to help a projector understand themselves as they're still deconditioning other things, is like tuning into your motivation and start seeing when you're in your true motivation and when you are in the like distraction transference thing.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Here we have motivation transference master chart, where we're going to do like an overview of the 1 through 6 motivations and their corresponding transferences. And then we're going to further go through each of the 6 separately.
So yeah, these transferences, they're very straightforward, and it's always the same on all of them. Each one we've gone through. This is the 4th time we've gone through this now, where we see 1 transfers to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6, and the reason 1 through 6 is there because when you get to 4, it's back down to 1, and the 5 to the 2, and the 6 to the 3. So these are, if you just read up the left-hand column, fear, hope, desire, need, guilt, and innocence. And they're broken up essentially by these trigrams too. So the bottom 3 are a right angle process. The top 3 are a universalizing, externalizing process. And then when you get to innocence, it's the lack of process. It's innocent. And then it starts all over again. So it's like a perfect little bookends, fear and innocence on either end of all of this. And plus, we'll get into what these keynotes are. Innocence doesn't mean you're simply innocent. Guilt doesn't mean you feel guilty all the time. You'll see this fleshes out to a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot more nuance. I really appreciate that Ra picked these like single keynote words to kind of anchor something and like give it something that you and I can have this conversation and we can talk about the same thing. But I think a lot of times when you're new and you get into this and just like guilt and fear and survival, like these really big, heavy words that can sound scary. And like, yeah, there's a lot of nuance and depth to them. It's just like a place marker so we can know what the other is talking about, and then we'll dive into it deeper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They flesh out to a lot. And God bless his little soul for doing that. He was a master at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do we want to explain transference from like a zoomed out perspective? We talked about it last week, but let's go over it again.
Yeah, let's go over it again. We'll take it away a little bit if you want.
Yeah. So motivation. So you have your like main actual motivation of like how you're moving through the world. And it's like you're driving forward. You're like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm motivated. And then the transference is kind of like you're glancing up at your rear view mirror and you're seeing like a different perspective. And that perspective of your rear view mirror allows you to orient yourself within your car and how you're moving and driving through the world. But if you would be focusing your driving while only looking at the rear view mirror the entire time, you're going to have a bad time. It's not going to work. Right. Yeah. And to remember that mirror, it's not exactly what's happening. It's a flip. It's a reflection. The left is the right is the left. It is something that we can take a glance at to see this other view, this other motivation, right? Because this is the same thing with perspective and motivation, both transference. So we talked about that one last week. And it's so you can kind of orient yourself to understand your true motivation by understanding its opposite.
Exactly. And the thing is, the reason you need to see it is because as you transfer out of your innocence into desire, you're trying to forge a path and lead a nation and fix a world in a sense and drive your uniqueness out there. And that's exactly the opposite of your motivation. So you start living there, and the next thing you know, ulcers and heart palpitations, who knows what as time goes.
You're not living your actual life. You're living this like flipped reverse doppelganger version of your life.
And the draw of the transfer is so alluring to the not self. The not self, the one thing it doesn't like is itself. So whatever it is, it wants what it's not.
Mm-hmm. The grass is always greener, kind of thing.
Yeah, to the max, dude. To the max on psychotic steroids, yes. Right.
Well, it's like extreme scarcity. It's focusing on everything that which we're not and thinking that that's something bad about us, where it's like the parts of our chart that are not like lit up, that's not like a bad part of us. That's where we're supposed to feel that from other people. And that's where other people can kind of fill that void. But if we think that that's what we're supposed to be doing, it's like, then you're not even living your correct life. You're trying to do this thing that other people are supposed to be there for you. But if you're trying to fulfill that, then the people who can actually fulfill that void within your heart or your, whatever part of your body, there's not even room for them. So it's just like you're continually digging this like deeper hole. And it's just like, it's sad. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, that's your not self, or not, oh, it's your doppelganger, and in this bad way. But it's also like, that's like the insecure part of you that just wanted to be loved and figure out how to survive in a big scary world, and it's trying to like have like a coat of armor to be that which is it is not, so it can survive. So I think there's like, hey, we can have a little grace for ourselves and a little compassion for this part of ourselves, which is just this like scared little kid that's trying to survive and is doing everything wrong, that they're trying their best.
It is this transference thing. It's there to be viewed. When I transfer from my desire into innocence, I'm there to recognize it, to just have zero motivation in one way, shape, or form or another. It's a nice place to visit, but I can't stay there. I can't stay there. The air is a nice place to visit for the porpoise, but they always go back under, right? And if you stay in the transference, it's like, oh, we're taking this great trip. I got everything I need, but you realize you forgot a thing. Your favorite pack of gum. It can be anything. And now your whole trip is about the favorite pack of gum you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and the vacation gets distracted and it gets transferred into something it's not. Yep. So that's what this is. Don't ruin your vacation, folks. Right?
Yeah, it does. It kind of turns you into like going into bizarre world, especially with both the
Yeah,
perspective and the motivation, because those are so like you have to see the world correctly with your perspective being aligned before you can act in the world correctly. Because if you're not seeing it correctly, then you're not going to be acting in it correctly.
I agree with all of that. Absolutely. It's again, you see your thing and you stick with your motivation. You start to see it, you start to embrace it, and then you start to recognize that you need your transference. You can't just stay in one. The transference anchors you away from transference. Essentially, it's constantly inoculating you
Like a
away from.
pendulum.
Yeah, well, it's more than as long as the pendulum is like 90% up here and then 95 and then 95. So it's a long pendulum to one direction and this short
Hmm.
little tick to the right. And that's how you have to treat it, treat it. So,
Yeah, just see what else is going on out there.
mhm.
Now we have our other big master chart. So this is the personality variable chart. So we talked about this last week and we're going to go through it again. On the personality side, where you have your perspective and your motivation, and you have your correct perspective and your correct motivation, and then you have your transference, but then you also have this trajectory that's associated with it. And this has to do with the left and the right arrows. Each one of these has a direction that you start in and a direction that you're going to go in. And I'm gonna let you take it from
So,
there.
so many things in our design point to direction and they point to trajectory and they point to the movement along a line of trajectory on your quote fractal. All of these words that come out just mean moving from point A to point B, if you want to make it nice and simple. And here's this movement is a lifelong journey. You have fear, you have hope, you have desire, you have need, you have guilt, and then you have innocence. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what is there on the left hand side. As we get into what they're doing, they are literally, this part stays the same, the communalist and the separatist. So you start out at one, you end up the other. Mine is desire. And then the next thing you know is, as I start to transfer, I lose track that I'm moving from leader to follower. That's my movement because I have a right facing arrow. If you had a left facing arrow, you'd be moving from follower to leader. So as my life gets on in time, I notice I'm more and more willing to like follow the lead. Someone's got a lead, follow. I think it's an aspect of sort of getting tired of one thing and now it's time to try the other. So if you're a second line, you're a theist and anti-theist. Doesn't mean you don't believe in God necessarily. It's just about the whole group of things, the hierarchy of it all, the what's it all really for. So you're moving between these things, communalist and separatist. Conditioner and conditioned is interesting. Master and novice is super easy. And observer and observed is a little bit aloof. It's sort of not the easiest thing to describe, but we'll get there. Conditioner conditioned is interesting because it's very interactive. I know. That is you. I have a left facing arrow here.
I have a left facing arrow. So I started
So you're
condition.
moving into conditioner. You started with conditioned, in
Yeah.
a way, and then into now the conditioner. So the fixing of things for you was fixing of things because other people made you do it. And now it's fixing of things because you made you do it. So, I mean, in its simplest form. So it does all these great things. I just know mine, leader and follower, was really easy to see. I started to slow down. Come on, Dan, let's make another company. Let's do this. Like, you make it, and I'll
I'll
say
help.
that it's good. I'll say it's great. I'll point out how great it is. And seriously, it's like things like that would come my way. Pull the insurance into your mortgage business. Younger version of me looked at it and totally thought about it. Older version of me, you do it. Put my name on it and use the company name, and we'll use company bonds and all that stuff. But that type of thing, I found myself not super well suited for actually my job, now that I think of it.
It's really interesting with this variable binary thing on the personality side, right? Because the personality is like the mind and stuff like that, that it does go from this one extreme to the other, because it's like, how can you get to the place where you're going without starting from the opposite?
Yeah, without ever losing all the good stuff that was built on it before. How many lines in the 384 lines talk about moving on to the next thing without forsaking that which came before it? Maybe you alter it, maybe you move some of it out. There's so many lines in that 364 lines of the book that point to hanging on to part of what you had before, but transitioning into the new. And so that's what this does. It hangs totally onto it. So I know that I have amazing leadership qualities. I spent, 40, 50 years developing that. So when I'm called as a response, I'll be fine, and I guess I'm learning to be a follower technically, because
Yeah, and
it's not an attractive place, according to our seven center, especially. So you're a dude. Hi, I'm a follower. You know what I mean? That doesn't ring well on the Marlboro Man commercial,
yeah,
you know?
very alpha.
Yeah, I'm a follower. Yeah, it
But it's
doesn't.
kind of cool though, because by being a good leader and then learning how to be a good follower, you can also be a better follower to help the other person who's supposed to be a
Totally,
good leader. It's like, because
totally.
you've walked that path and now you're learning kind of the opposite version of it, and then you could be more supportive to that other. It's like,
And
because
think
again,
about
we're here
this,
to be in
Moni.
communion with one another.
Yes, and as you point that out, think about this. As we are all granted a 6-line life cycle, 3 parts. We're all granted it. We have our Saturn, then we have our Chiron, and then there's 3 in between. There's even a Uranus opposition. As we go through that, we master these things, and we actually get really good at it, especially the more we watch it. So I'll be a follower, but I'll be leading myself just fine, so that I can follow, and I'll be stand-up follower. I'll be really good in that way for a thing, especially on a project or something. And it's good, it's healthy for us. And as you see your motivation, you allow it, and you'll see all the right things start to come to you where they weren't before. So let's get into some of that little magic twist, Moni. The things
Absolutely.
people didn't realize they had until we tell them, until we
Uh-huh.
show them.
Color one is motivated by fear and insecurity. It's driven by ensuring safety and stability, acting to mitigate risks, acts from caution, not neediness. And then in transference, it goes to need, which is color 4, because 1 and 4 have that relationship. And in transference of need, you're not sure what to do to survive, and you feel you need to do things that you think are necessary. And it's about acting from desperation or control.
Yeah, and the fear of loss and FOMO and how about just straight up confusion or mental anxiety places? So you'll never have what you need if you're transferring to it from your correct motivation of fear. So that's the thing. As soon as you start making your checklist of all the things you think you need, and then you start to recognize they're all material in nature, most of them, and that's what the transference does. It points you into the material version of our lives, where if you stay in your proper one, the fear is about the investigator. The thing, so if you're a first line 1-3 profile, for instance, and you have a first color fear, that's so perfectly aligned with your investigator. It simply says, don't move till you know. Get the rest of the facts. We need a foundation here. And so fear becomes that thing that, let's face it, we all are loaded with it. I mean, at the most mundane level, my toast is about to pop up and I notice the butter is still cold in the fridge. I didn't pull it out. I am now fearful. I am not going to spread that butter on that toast. It's so mundane and ridiculous that I use that as an example, but it's an instantaneous intelligence maker. What do you do? You learn really quick to slice it thin. and I need a sharper knife. That made me smart in that moment. Now magnify that by 10 billion things we do throughout a life and everyone else. So makes you smart, brings intelligence into the fore, unless it transfers into need, and then suddenly you never have what you need, and you're always afraid. You get them both, double whammy. And there's an anxiety level that'll go with that just will rock your world, because these are both foundation lines. That means there's no foundation anywhere when you transfer. You're supposed to transfer, and think about it, shaky ground. Second line can be on shaky ground. They won't even know. So it's a different story. But here, the fear, if you are able to stay in it, you will recognize that transferring into need is important. You need to go there to see it, to remind yourself, that's not how my intelligence works. Thanks for reminding me. That's not how my intelligence works. My cognition, my thing that finishes interpreting what it is I've been viewing all this time, my thing that is my me, that's not its best cognitive way at all. Just only what I need, and it leaves it. And it's like, let me just focus on what I know. Dragnet, an old show where Sergeant Friday or Captain Friday would come and he would say, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am. It's just the first line thing to do. He was a cop. He probably could see, well, I'm going to need to know this and I'm going to need that in the future. But he showed up and said, just the facts, ma'am. And that's what this motivation does. It makes you procure just the facts. And then what you need will come because you're already aligned to it, is the thing.
And it's almost kind of funny because fear, it's scary. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the first thing you want to see, and you're like, great, fear, or motivated by fear. That sounds ominous. But in some way, to maybe be able to find a level of comfort in recognizing that you're motivated by an insecurity and finding a comfort in that place, and that if you act from that place of insecurity and making sure things are safe and stable at this very like base foundation level, like everything else will work out. If you can find comfort in knowing that insecurity leads to security, so maybe not freaking out if you feel insecure, because it's just leading to ongoing feeling insecure.
That's gorgeous, because the insecurity leads to security. They all lead to their thing. Fear leads to getting what you want. Insecurity leads to security. It's a perfect way to put that. That's the way, it works. You transfer to see. If you stay in your transference, you don't see. If you transfer and come back, you see clearly. And as soon as you see that transference take place, just like I said last week, ask yourself, who's noticing? Who's noticing this thing take place in what it feels like, my cognition and my brain and my way and in me? But somehow I feel like I'm separate noticing this. That's what you'll notice when you actually see it. You'll recognize that separation between the personality and the rest of the body. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like if you were to go be around a bunch of like toddlers running around like crazy madness, and there's this like, oh, this is not me. This is not who I am. This is not how I behave. There's almost in seeing the opposite of your proper behavior. I don't know, just roll with this ridiculous example. But by seeing something that is, seeing a bunch of kids having like a food fight, you're like, oh my God, this is not how I behave. If you see some violence and people are like, yeah, great violence. And you're like, whoa, 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 I'm not cool with that violence. I'm not one of you. It's almost like the transference is the seeing of something so extreme, so you can kind of be put back into like who I actually am.
Totally. Yes. Another great example. Yeah. We're just filled with awesome analogy tonight, guys. Let's go shoot for the trajectory.
With the motivation of fear, if it's a left arrow, then it's communalist, and they build collective security through group efforts to create group safety. On the flip side, with the right arrow, it's the separatist, which focuses on personal security and independence and securing personal spaces.
These things are blended. They are blending all the time. They are not to be seen. They can live in their extremes, yes, and you'll see them in their extremes, but they blend all the time on a daily and weekly basis, moment to moment. So you start out the communalist and you have a trajectory moving towards separatist. It doesn't mean you throw all community aside and you go live under a rock. And you start out separatist and move towards communalist. It doesn't mean that you're all in and just gave up all your worldly possessions and now sitting Indian style with everyone else around one collective circle in a community, a commune. It's blending. It's always blending. And so the movement is always the same. Look at the arrow on your chart. You have fear as a motivation, and that arrow is pointing to the right. That means you start on the opposite side and move towards your natural way. So you'll start the communalist and move towards the separatist. And by the way, we're all going to experience plenty of that. This is a foundation. The foundation of color and motivation is here. So all the rest of motivation is going to be imbued with fear and need, communalist and separatist. There's going to be a little bit of that in with everybody, one way, shape, or form. So that's what these things do, and they give us our personal space while making sure the community isn't ignored and rejected. Just because you're a separatist doesn't mean you reject the community. And just because you're a community person doesn't mean you don't have desire to separate. So
Yeah, you get a little bit of both, and you go from like the one extreme to the other in life.
but your movement does move along in this trajectory I'm referring to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Next up, we have color 2, which is hope. And hope is driven by optimism and possibilities, acting from inspiration. Bring hope into others' lives, raising the spirit of others, acting from hope and not guilt. On the flip side, you have the transference, which is guilt, which is color 5, because 2 and 5 have that relationship. So hope shifts to guilt, acting from obligation or self-blame, and not being hopeful, but instead feeling guilty and trying to fix things and make them happen.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, guilt seems like a manifestory thing, in a way, but it's just about getting through a checklist. It's about recognition, the guilt part of it that you transfer. It's about getting through a whole punch list of things. Whereas the hope, where you start, driven by this optimism, it's driven by true hopefulness. It's a spiritual place, by the way, because it's illogical as far as I can't have hope as a motivation and then put that on a professional business plan and ask some other company to purchase that for $1 million. Don't worry, it'll work. You know what I mean? The fear guy can go ahead and write up a whole foundation. The desire person can be like, this is how the leadership's going to work. All kinds of various things. But hope is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an active force. Hope is that thing that the Matrix man noticed in the movie The Matrix. I think it was the very first one where he was talking to Neo, the guy with the beard, and he was like, this thing has failed 7 times so far, or whatever, and this one I thought would work, but always that thing, that quintessential greatest strength and biggest weakness of humanity, hope. That was what he called it, and I resonated with that big time. I was like, that is true. What does hope do? Hope moves mountains, because while you're sitting there in this sort of driven, optimistic, like just remaining a little bit hopeful and shifting along the way, it doesn't mean you're not bouncing and ducking and weaving as need be, because you're still doing stuff. You're still out raking the yard. You're still going to your job. The hopefulness is about a movement and a way that you have. And suddenly, in your not paying attention to it, like a good second line doesn't even realize, the hopefulness starts to just turn out. Almost a little bit like how the serendipity of Gate 46 works. In its subheading line right below serendipity, it points out pushing upward, that this act of totally not total serendipity at all. It's the accumulation of a bunch of things you put a whole bunch of work into and didn't even realize, that came together in a confluence of serendipity that seemed like dumb luck, but it's really, the
Derives
collection,
from effort and dedication.
right, and a bunch of things you've done along the way. And so that's what this is. And so it ends up being that effort and dedication surrounding the hope. And the hope has its own type of innocence. And the hope is waiting to be called. And it's waiting to be called out of the being to be hopeful. Otherwise, they transfer. And what do? They try and fix everything, make checklists, get in and disrupt that hope in a very, yin process of guilt rather than the yang process of hope. And the guilt makes you try and fix everything. It makes you
Wouldn't that
try and
wouldn't that be opposite? Hope sounds very yin and guilt sounds yang.
hope is totally the phallic yang force. Don't worry, sweetie, it's going to work.
But guilt is fixing it.
Yes, mother, fix it. Wipe the diapers, get the thing, fix the kid, the nose. It's lines 1, 3, and 5 are yin. Lines 2, 4, and 6 are yang, slicing through.
Okay.
It's weird. It is
Yeah,
weird.
just trying to wrap my brain around that one. That's kind of new. Okay. Anyway, continue.
Mom doesn't sit there and hope. She wipes the baby's butt. Dad hopes someone else wipes the baby's butt.
Someone else is gonna wake up and take care of the baby.
Something like that. I mean, just basically, yes. There's a total there. Hope is a yang force. It's active. It's sitting. It's waiting, and it's looking. It's ready to pounce. It's the tiger or the lion just before the pounce. It doesn't know. It's just sitting there. I hope it doesn't move. I hope it doesn't move. I got the. It's an active state of awareness, waiting to be moved. And by the way, they'll move mountains along the way. And suddenly, because their hopefulness keeps a certain bounce in the step. It's a second line after all, second color. They all have these same qualities, right? This thing is just innocently sitting in its own little shell, sort of hopeful by nature, and doing all kinds of other stuff until called. And once called, it's like, oh, I already know how to do some of this. Oh, I've done a bunch of stuff that already knows how to do some of that. And the hopefulness takes off. When they try and push that river, they're into the transference. And now they're making a checklist and trying to get everyone they can to help them to do things. And they're not knowing which thing they should do first. And then they're doing way too many things. And then they're never doing anything.
I've definitely seen. I have a hope projector in my life, and just seeing him run around trying to manage everything. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was tiring on his behalf. I was tired watching this little hope projector. It was like, dude, just lay down. Like, just be
Right.
this hopeful little lightning bug. Like, you don't have to fix everything.
Well, guilt is very manifestory for a motivation. Even desire doesn't quite come close to it, you know. It does want to lead, but it doesn't quite know how it's going to strike out. It's still lower trigram. Guilt will inform the other and enlist the other. This is getting done.
So with the hope motivation, the left arrow is the theist, and they're looking for God, pursuing spiritual or belief-driven possibilities and following inspiring beliefs. On the flip side, you have the right arrow, which is the anti-theist, and they're more skeptical and rejecting of dogma and rigidity, and they explore diverse ideas toward self-trust while staying open to possibilities.
Since it's second line, both incredibly spiritual, forever looking at the light. The second lines are just forever looking at the light as like to the detriment of the darkness. The darkness is always trying to be cast away until you transfer, and then it's all dark. And it's incredible darkness. This one hits more darkness because at least the investigator can start to investigate and recognize it's not right. The hope is just stuck in, I got no foundation and it's all darkness everywhere. I don't even know where
and then feeling like they need to fix it, but they don't know how to fix it. And then
they
just
don't
spinning their wheels, it kind of seems like.
Right. And they'll run back out of it and they'll get back into their proper motivation because you can't stay in transference forever. It's just if you're not self and you're not recognizing, you're not in your experiment, you're not through your transformations, like starting them, looking at them, then you'll stay here far longer than you should, and it will affect the whole rest of your life if you don't get it fixed. This is a place, these transferences are an easy place to apply a tourniquet and stop the bleeding. Not even totally sure on your strategy and authority. I get it. Let's still tell you about your motivation. So you can put that in there because you'll see it. It's just to get you into the experiment. You keep seeing it, and then you'll start seeing other things. So I love this aspect of design because it is a place to, help correct a being. Yep. Neither one of them dislikes God necessarily, although one may. And the theist is more, again, like the communalist, getting together, to do this thing. And the anti-theist is like, I might show up on my terms.
I'll find God in my experience therein, maybe not in an institutionalized, formalized sense, but maybe going for a hike and seeing the beauty of nature and seeing God within the beauty of everything around them.
Danny, you need to be saved in this one particular way. To Jesus at this place with this baptism style and this thing
with this
through
denomination,
this
in this
through
outfit.
this church,
yeah.
Right? And I'll be like, exactly, no, I don't. And so, thank you. This must have been opposite day. Thank you. I'll say to that person. So that's that would be the anti of that because it's really also anti-proselytization. because we've been a proselytized world. That's the whole seven-centered way was they proselytized with swords and on horseback with freaking trebuchets knocking down walls, and yeah, that was their version of it.
People telling you what to think and do and believe and
or die,
speak or die.
or die at the end. It's kneel or die at the end of my
Uh-huh.
sword. Yeah, right.
And then
So,
is there anything else to say about because it's the trajectory, you go from the one side to the other.
well, yeah. So if you have a right-facing arrow, you start out as the theist, and you're all about that, and then you start to move into your own unique way. Rightness is about moving to your own unique way. Leftness is about being strategic about things that will ultimately get you to your own unique way. And the strategic thing to do is to come together. And the right thing to do when you're on the right-facing arrow, the upper tones, 4, 5, and 6, is to obey the upper tones and sort of separate a little.
Kind of do your own thing.
Yep, do your own thing. And then ultimately be called with all the others to tell them all about it. It's not like this second feature inside this person isn't hopefully going to run over and tell everyone what they just figured out. If it gets called out of them, they're going to start talking sooner or later. Depends what that other line is.
Next up, we have color 3, which is desire. And desire, the motivation is getting to the place that nobody has been before, being driven by passion and pursuing what excites, and acting from passion and not suppression. On the flip side, you have the transference, the distraction, which is innocence, color 6, because color 3 and color 6 have that relationship. And innocence doesn't want to lead, and it's remaining passive and playing the role of the observer and having like a lack of motivation.
Yeah, it's uncontrived, motivationless action. Sort of like gate 25 lines 1 and lines 4. You know, they would fit that description. It's motiveless action. And it doesn't mean that you do nothing. It just means when the action happens, it wasn't because you were pursuing it with a desire. Desire is about the pursuit, the pursuer, and the pursued happen through here. And so this is third line, third color, third everything, you know, all threes that you think of when you get into desire. So desire has to bump into the thing it's going to do. And guess what else it does? It sustains. You know, the other 3 colors, they come and they go. They're there and they're not. This thing never leaves the poor being because one of the keynotes of threeness is sustainment. Its creativity comes out in sustainment, sustaining at something. And then trial and error, making it work. And it's just pursuit. And it's this pursuit of leadership that's going to move the needle and empower everyone else. The more people it empowers, the more the desire is invoked. And it is a desire to lead. Its transference will take it fully away from that and make it basically start to lose track of itself.
I feel like desire, I don't know, because it feels like it'd be a fun one to have. Like, this is what I want, and I'm gonna go do it.
It's a
But
freaking
always
slave driver. It's a slave driver. It's a slave. I have this. It's a slave driver. As leader of my whole early part of my life, I struck out on every last venture I could get my hands on in order to make it all.
it sounds
And I
fun though.
dragged
Like you could
everyone
be
I possibly
successful.
I dragged everyone I possibly could with me. At all times, I was always trying to lead.
But you were successful. You got to like do cool stuff.
Yeah, Wicked got to do cool stuff.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
I absolutely adored it. If I had known more about my thing,
Hmm.
just it'd be much cooler had I known more about it. But yeah, I led myself without even the whole no suppression part. That's funny. That's hilarious. And also, never mind just no suppression, not a lot of screening either, and verifying and vetting. I just step in. It's like, yeah, this is going in that direction. I desire that. It has almost nothing to do with, you know, what 59 and 6 have us desiring and stuff like that. It's almost nothing to do with the reproductive process, maybe a little, but
It's not
it
a
has
sexy desire.
it's not the sexy desire. It's the, you know, CEO style desire.
The I
Which
want it. I gotta make it happen.
got to make it happen, and the
Greed
thing
is
is got to make
good.
yes, and it's got to make it happen as myself. So even the CEO thing almost doesn't work if someone else is hiring you to be a CEO and they're your boss. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to have a boss. And it's hard to get the full loyalty of everyone too, because leader and followers, it doesn't always invoke the full loyalty one thinks of when they think of leader. That happens on the next one.
With color 3, desire, the left arrow is the leader, and they have the responsibility to lead, and they lead passionately, inspiring others, and pursue bold interests. With the right angle trajectory, they're the follower, and that's about supporting passionate leaders or visions that align with inspiring visions.
Yeah, so this whole thing that we see coming up here, this movement I was just talking about. So if you have a right-facing arrow like I do, you start out at leader, and you ultimately learn to follow. It's sort of like the channel of acceptance, 17, the fellowship that in order to lead, someone
you must follow.
Yeah, must
serve. In order to lead, you must first serve. That's 17.
Yep. And that's a logical process. And that's the thing. And this is also a logical process. Ultimately, even though it can seem wildly illogical, but I move towards follower, supports passionate leaders or visions. You show me something that looks really good and fits with what my original desire was in my previous leadership, and you're picking up that mantle and leading that same thing, chances are I'm going to fall right in line, and I'm going to be fine with that, and I'm going to be great at leading myself in all of that, and I'm going to be great at showing other people how to lead themselves. And in a sense, the leadership never leaves. The ability to bark out, I am the power of now, and we suddenly start to act on it, things of that nature. So, and if you're a left-facing arrow, you sort of started out as follower, and you might even be a little bit bitter about that. And then you start to end up in a leadership role. And because the world taught us to be leaders, not followers. I mean, that's the manifesto conditioning, right? So, hey, Coach Belichick, how are you going to make the Patriots win this year? Well, I'm going to follow what my other coaches say and follow them, and maybe something will work. I hope. Yeah, that's not going to work. Coach Belichick's going to get fired in that instance. So just recognize the desire to do this is very potent, and it will drive you. And if you aren't driven in these little ways that keep showing up where something is moving you, you've transferred, and then you get neither. That's the thing. When you transfer and stay there, you get neither. When you transfer and see, you get both. You certainly get your color. So we need desire to move the world. By the way, people are not supremely loyal in the leader follower category, because someone can just sort of come to leadership and they don't necessarily know everything about everyone. I don't know everything about my president or the governor of my state or whatever. They don't know everything about me, but there is a leader follower there apparently. I'm a follower, conscripted. I didn't ask for it, but in that example, but you know what I'm saying. So the loyalty, at some point the leader finally says, okay, it's time to jump over the cliff, boys. Followers might say, no, you jump over the cliff, fool. In the next line, when we get to the next one, they're more likely to jump over the cliff. Well, in the next one, you have trust and loyalty. They wouldn't lead you over a cliff that wasn't ready for you. This is just a leader. He may lead me over something that's no good for me. They recognize the right angle of it, is what I'm getting at. And right angle is I first. We don't get into that left angle territory until we get to the fourth color. So lead and follow. These two things go together. Desire is a potent force. And this line as written, getting to a place nobody's been to before, or at least that's really cool, by passions, pursuing what excites them, and not suppressed. This is a well keynoted blurb up top here.
Also have a comment for FYV Life. How would one even manage a gate 25 and desire motivation? Because it's innocence of gate 25, but then a desire motivation. That is a good
Don't forget, variable and your design are separate. They are separate from one another. One is dropped into the other. The variables are dropped into the design, and then the design has a trajectory and a consciousness to go with it. But the design itself, the 25, read it into your incarnation, read it into your body graph, read it into your way, and then add the motivation of desire on top of it. So I have a 25. I'm a vessel of love. I desire to make sure it's fair for everyone. And so in my leadership, if someone's trying to underdog someone else, I'm not going to be okay with that. That won't fit in with what I'll roll right over in my form of trying to lead. And by the way, it's not leadership always leading an army of men. It's just you're trying to lead, forge a path, like it says. Find a pursuit and sort of just lead the way into that. And you want to go, desire always wants to go kill it, do a great job, not kill it literally like a hunting party, but that too, just like do a great job, hopefully that answered your question.
Perfect. Next up, we have color 4, which is need, and they are able to do what is necessary to feel good, and they're driven by necessity, acting to meet essential requirements. They act from necessity and not from fear. And then on the flip, you have the transference distraction of fear, which is color 1, because 1 and 4 have the relationship. And they fear not being able to survive, acting instead from paranoia or scarcity, rather than focusing on what they truly need and what they need for themselves and to be of benefit for others.
Exactly. Now, need is this one spot in all of the body graph where, we have these harmonies and resonances. They're sort of written in stone, except for here. For some reason, the fourth line, which is always called the glue of society because it's always externalizing the local news and keeping everyone glued into the movement of humanity, this transfers to every other color. It does not only transfer to fear. The need, I don't have enough innocence, I need more. The need, I need more desire, I don't need less. Need, I got to stop trying to fix everything. I need to just hope more, or I got to stop hoping and I need to fix. I haven't fixed it, so now I'm transferring heavily to my first line fear. And so this one will transfer through all of them where the other ones don't really. They just don't. This one hits them all. But number 1 is still the primary transference because 1 and 4 are harmony to each other. So when need is your thing, I think these peeps are great, by the way, when they're in their proper way, because they do observe what's needed. I hate running out of toothpaste, Well, they see what's needed. The guilt may go out and buy it, but the need is part of the aspect that everything that's needed, all of it, including the goodwill, including the harmony with the people, its creative path, partly harmony, aloneness, needing togetherness, needing all of the various things. I need romance. I need food, obviously, shelter. Do we or do we not have all the needs? This is transcendent need. I need God to remember always that I love him. Beautiful. That's in my 6th line innocence. Fourth line gave myself what I needed. I'm just saying it transfers to all of them. It's there to see it all. And it's the one spot in the body graph where the harmony is not stuck on only one. It's just predominantly the first color, fear. So when you do transfer strictly into fear, is when you'll notice it the most, that it's taking away from your nature, because just like it says, suddenly you're afraid you don't have what you need. Where before, when you weren't there, you were just looking at the stuff you need and making all the right, choices over, well, if I don't have that, at least I can get by with this, until you start being afraid. And now it's never enough. As soon as you get into fear, there becomes a problem with not enoughness across the board, all over the place, and suddenly trying to acquire. And now, if you're not a manifester, you're definitely outside of your strategy and authority, because you're trying to manifest something. If you're a manifester and that's happening, you're manifesting poorly and angrily, and it's not quite working. And there's all kinds of other things. Resistance field is high, no good if you're a manifester. So this is a maniacal switch, because when you go into that fear, it takes what you need and amplifies it into something that is not only unmanageable, but might seem hopeless. We don't want that for our need people. We want our need people doing their occasional transfers to every last thing, and then, externalizing what do we need. When we get the need, I'll tell you what, I need the next piano lesson because I'm trying to get through this piece of music. That's it. Not, I'm afraid I'm not going to get it. I'm afraid I won't get through the music. That's just what I need. We'll find out if I get through it and I'm able to learn it or not. And we'll get through it in a very personal way when you throw up these the arrows.
For the fourth color motivation of need, the left arrow is master. It's about mastering skills to meet needs. They evolve from novice to master to deepen their expertise. And then on the right side, it's the trajectory of the novice. And that's about exploring needs with curiosity and not perfection. And it's about learning something new.
And it's the whole pursuit of learning. Master, novice, teacher, student, all of these things, if we just look at keynoting of the role gates, confidant or not, fits in here. The student will do all kinds of things for their teacher because they love them, because only the right teacher can teach a student, or else the student stops trying to learn from that teacher because they weren't right for each other. They will follow that guy off the cliff, potentially, because the teacher will assure them, don't you worry, don't you worry. And there's trust, and the novice loves its teacher, and the teacher loves, there's love there. There's like an actual relationship. And why wouldn't there be? Fourth line friendliness, fourth line abdicating to give in to the other. What a beautiful gift. Honey, I abdicate to you. Oh, honey, I abdicate back too. We just gave in to each other. I mean, it sounds like a recipe for a long marriage. This master novice is intense. They swap with each other, and the master is always seeking to have the novice exceed them, and the novice is always seeking to have the right master. So if you have a right facing arrow and this motivation, you start out mastering things, and this is a difficult position because you really can't master until you novice first, but you can lead before you follow. You sure can. You can theist or anti-theist, doesn't matter, but novice to master without novice first. So it's a difficult position in a right facing arrow. In a left facing arrow, it makes perfect sense because you start out across what the other arrow side is. So if you have a left facing arrow here, you would start where the right is as the novice, explores the needs and the curiosities until they bump into the right teacher, the right master who will give them everything. And for that, they will have love for each other. And there will be something there that is a bond that the leader can never have from its followers the same way. So friendship, friendliness, affection, all those things that give payment to the other show up here. I like it.
Great.
I approve. It's
All
an
right.
impossible position if you're a right arrow. It's an impossible position. No wonder you transfer to everything else to figure out how to do that. Certain things you will just master from the get-go, and you will find mastery in, or you won't seek a teacher, and you'll move through your novice phase all on your own, quickly, or you'll skip from teacher to teacher to teacher just because you're trying to get there faster, or your way has you there first. So that I would love to hear from people on that and have a discussion about just that.
Next up, we have color 5, which is guilt. And these people are driven by responsibility to correct or improve situations. The drives are what can be done now. They act from responsibility and not escapism. On the flip side, the transference is the distraction of hope, because that's color 2, and 2 and 5 have that relationships. And when transferring into hope, then instead of fixing things, they're waiting for something to fix itself and hoping that someone comes along to help them fix it. And good luck.
And stuck. Yeah, and they're stuck, and they're just stuck at that point. And that transference is just, the hope will steal away all of the stuff see, guilt works in the now. It talks to our individual definition, this individual knowing. Guilt becomes a type of knowing that becomes universalized because it works in the now. All of these motivations work in the now. So if you take this doing, this finding the responsibility and improving the situation, what can be done now, and it's not always going to be necessarily responsible, but it's moving towards that. And it doesn't want to let itself escape. It's not even trying to, mostly. It's very happy with itself. Like an ego gets a reward because it does a thing. This does end up feeling satisfied and victorious, and it feels good enough with itself as it does a thing. And you know that, yeah, because you have this with a
Yep.
left facing arrow. So you're always moving from novice to master. This is a normal motion for you. Does that sound familiar, Moni?
Yeah, I mean, generally, yeah. Like I like fixing things. I like making things better. I like making things nicer.
It's the archetype of how that works and how we all get taught in this way. So anyways, this guilt thing happens in the now, and it's simply a need, recognizes what we need. Guilt is like, not only do we need that, I see that, but actually I'm the one who has to go get it.
Yeah,
Or
and
I have to get someone to go get it. We have to make sure it gets got. The need people can see we need. The guilt people make sure it gets gotten, that we get it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. There's like a guilt that will overcome me if like, oh, I should have fixed it. Oh, I could have fixed it. I should have told somebody. But it's also difficult as a projector because it's like I'm not invited to fix it necessarily, or somebody doesn't
Right,
want to hear me, you know. So
right,
it's a funny
right.
one.
It is a funny one, and it can take us all kinds of different ways. But it's just interesting as you see these things and you see your motivations, hopefully you'll start to see, oh, wow, these have been working quietly underneath the whole time.
Hmm.
And boy, it's an aspect. And boy, I'm rather helpless to it. If people tried to tell me, Dan, don't, come on, just don't this time, it was murder. There better been a pretty girl that I just kissed on the other side of that request for me to have don'ted,
With your desire.
with my, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, with
Or
guilt,
something so important that I was duty bound to respect their wish, that something like that, you know what
to
I mean?
stop you from the
Yes,
desire.
stop.
With guilt, though, yeah, it's like I want to fix all the things, and it's maddening when then there's something in the way of me fixing it, or I need somebody else's help to do the next thing, but I can't seem to like get that out or be able to like ask them, or I ask them and it's like, yeah, I'll get to it, and it's like I can't do the thing that I'm supposed to fix until you help me, and that's like a very
Yeah,
maddening place to be in.
I can totally see that. Yeah, because what's the trick? The hope doesn't really have to worry about too much. It just has to stay busy. It has to recognize what 47 line 2 says. To be mentally active and be busy is mentally, to be busy and active on mundane things is mentally healthy. 47 2, something like that. Hope doesn't worry about too much as long as it's being active and just being itself. Guilt, no, it's really important. These people have to be practical, fifth line theme, because they're going to come in and fix stuff, and people are going to project in them that they're going to fix stuff, whether you have a fifth line, profile or not.
When it's like they project their hope on you.
Right.
It's
Right.
like this weird thing where it's just like fixing things, but then hope could almost be this like insidious transference because you're like, I want to fix the thing, but I can't fix the thing. And then it's just like, or I can't, I'm literally not the one who can fix this problem. Like, I hope it works out for you. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to say. And I feel like a jerk
Right.
because like I'm a fifth line with the motivation of guilt and I can't help you. It's a very funny thing. I definitely used to very much live in hope and think it was this great thing of like hope that something will happen and it'll get better. And it's like, no, you have to fix it. You have to actually do the thing to fix it. You have to do something, even if it's just like twiddling your little thumb and getting something moving. Guilt is you have to do something to fix it. And that's weird when you're not invited to. So it turns into just like guilt into fixing my own life and the things that I'm actually responsible for fixing.
It's just so true, Moni. And the thing is, if you have this as a motivation, you've got to get practical on what you're willing to take on. Don't take on too much because it will overwhelm. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a great motivation as a teacher to let you know what is too much. You'll find out real quick.
Yeah, because you feel guilty, like you're supposed to
Yes,
fix it, and then you're like, "This is way above my pay grade. Like I cannot handle this." And like now I'm in it, and I feel like a jerk if I leave it. Like guilt can be really beautiful because it's about guilt to fix stuff and make it better. Like, hey, that thing's broken.
and
Move that
prettier,
thing. Something's
better and
somebody's gonna
prettier.
fall. Move the chair. Whatever it is. Like it can be
Yes.
really really great, but can also go like kind of squirrely in different
It
ways.
doesn't just fix, it fixes with more beauty. What is the creative way of the fifth role, the role model fifth version? That is attractiveness and making it prettier. And it's a gate 1 and 8 business, which is making all the work of line 2 and 14 get contributed out into the world, in the first place. So it's about attractiveness. It is a bit of a seduction. It's got to be pretty some way, shape, or form. When we get to the arrows going back, the variable go back and forth, you'll see why.
Let's see why. For the color 5 motivation of guilt, the left arrow is the conditioner. And this is about manipulating others by being strategic and addressing specific problems. And they shape systems for fairness. On the flip side, the right arrow trajectory is conditioned. And this is about being quote unquote fixed. And they're impacted by the penta and support fair structures.
This whole movement that moves back and forth. So if you have a right facing arrow and you have a fifth color guilt motivation in your personality sun earth, that's the black side, you will be moving from conditioner to conditioned. That's basically my movement. In as much as I do harmonize, then my second line profile will harmonize with 5 everything. And then if you have a left facing arrow, you start out conditioned. And again, this would be a more normal thing. You know, the baby first is conditioned, you know, they start out that way. But at least this is an energetic. When it was in the other color, when it was in a fourth color, that movement back and forth to be master before novice almost doesn't make sense. But there it is. So it's almost like 54-4, the alpha and omega, the thing that we still can't fully make sense of. A lot of things happen in the fourth line of hexagrams. Anyways, to be conditioned is a fifth line process, and to be the conditioner is a fifth line process. Swap out those words conditioner and conditioned for the seducer and the seduced. That's one of them. That's one of the conditionings that's prime in our life that we do a lot. The teacher and the taught, the one that's being taught, all kinds of things like that. The moviegoer being conditioned, the movie maker doing the conditioning. This stuff is all about big things universalizing into the world, not just smaller things externalizing into a network.
Influence.
Influence. I seek influence externalizing into my network, but it's not universalizing. I got to get through other people. I need you, Moni, or I can't universalize anything.
Well,
But I sure can't talk a lot and annoy people, you know.
I mean, I could have do without you as well, but
I agree. We're there for each other. So this back and forth motion is what you're supposed to see. And the manipulating of the others, don't let that seem like a bad word. It's not that you're manipulating only for some kind of a gain. It's that there's an energetic going on. And if you're living out your design, that manipulation is to navigate in such a way that doesn't rock the boat away from successfully conditioning the other into whatever it is that to condition them is to do the thing that guilt says to do, with something we have to do. This is one of the things guilt has to do. Of all the things it has to do, it has to fix the this and and pick up the dry cleaning, and it's got to condition the other or follow the conditioning. And it universalizes all of that.
Yeah, I think it was like last week in the comments, I think it was Jen that said, because I was saying that this is, I'm a conditioner, I'm a left arrow motivation guilt. And she's like, that's what you're doing with the show. Like ultimately by putting together the show and the presentations and organizing you and us doing this, it's like, I am conditioning whoever's choosing to watch this and take in this information. You know,
1000%, Moni. I'm just the follower.
I'm the conditioner and you're the follower.
Apparently.
But your desire's into it, so it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, desire got me here in the first place. I desire to change the entire world and wake them up so that all 8 billion people, every last one of them has their design read and they all know their design and are living according to it perfectly. I'm not asking too much. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. And I just want to fix everybody. I feel guilt to fix everybody so they can live correctly, so then I can be more comfortable in the world.
Yeah, me too. I need to be more comfortable in this entire world. So
I feel like this show is ultimately like my human design master's thesis.
well, that's where
we're
we're
creating my own library. Yeah.
Yes, Moni, we want mastery. I get to include you on my front line of peeps that got taught along the way. You know what I mean? That we're just so I'm wicked excited about all of that. Plus, we have the greatest conversations.
I know, it's so good.
Yeah, and desire. I have a feeling desire keeps track. It's like winners and losers of the power.
That's my perspective.
Yep, perspective. Now that I think of it, it does keep track. It totally does. So that's funny.
Good. I love when you like bring it up to be able to notice it, because
I love noticing. You know what, Moni? I like noticing the hard things. Someone could do, I don't care what it is at this point. I love finding the things that are hard. Hard things make life easy. Hard things make life easy.
Finally, we're moving to color 6, which is Innocence. which is no specific motivation or reason of doing something. There's no agenda. And they're more concerned with just being here and observing reality, acting from purity and not external wants. And then innocence flips into the transference, the distraction of desire, which is color 3, because colors 3 and 6 have that relationship. And that's about feeling a desire to lead other people, and they're ready to do whatever it takes to get people on the winning side. It shifts to desire and chasing external validation.
Yeah, and then they're seeking that external validation when their innocence could care less. They're seeking that external motion because the leadership requires others. Whereas when desire is your natural motivation, the leadership doesn't always require others. Sooner or later, you'll run into others, you'll need others and all that stuff, but very often you're just good at it all by yourself. You'll start, something will take place and then you'll invoke others. But if you're transferring from the innocence, then it becomes this validation thing. It becomes this feeling of desire that is more like a longing that can never, the unrequited love that will never be answered. That's no good. And they're ready to do whatever it takes. You know what? That sounds like an impulsive decision. No can do. No impulsive decisions down here. Please. You're innocent. You're waiting. This is another game of waiting as an active state of awareness. It's also, go figure, a yang force. 2, 4, and 6 are the yang lines. 1, 3, and 5 are the yin. And it doesn't seem right, does it?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
It really doesn't. Who are our Father in heaven?
God.
Innocent. He's innocent. Jesus was innocent.
The most innocent.
And in fact, he led with innocence as the ultimate man. Not every man that is a Christian man tries to emulate, He most like, so if you look at it that way, it's there. Innocence is a powerful force because once it becomes involved, innocence is about, I'm not yet involved. That's a big part of this. And it doesn't mean I won't be involved. It means when the right thing comes, involvement takes place, the innocence turns into great power because there was no preconceived notion. There was nothing pre-contrived out of it. This person comes fresh out of the gate, ready to go without a lot of bad habits. Like someone will say, give me a newbie. I don't want someone with all them bad habits. This is a newbie to each new thing. And we need that. That's a fresh pair of eyes as well. Innocence is watching as a fresh pair of eyes most of the time.
Yeah, I have a story with innocence and desire transference because this is my boyfriend's motivation. And I could see it from years ago when he just started learning how to DJ. The first camping things we were going to and the first burns we were going to, he was really excited to I'm going to go to this camp and I'm going to DJ at this place. I'm going to DJ at this place and do all these things. And he was trying to make it happen and scheduling and organizing and reaching out and this whole thing. And he did that, and it turned into him dragging his DJ controller, and then I'm going with because I want to see him DJ. But then I kind of felt like I wasn't having my own experience because I just was following him to his things. And some of the sets were all right, and some were better than others, but in another person's space. And there's kind of it was cool, but there's an awkwardness. And then what was 2 years ago, he's like, I'm not planning for nothing. I'm not scheduling volunteer hours. I'm not trying to make DJ sets happen. I'm not organizing it all. I'm just showing up. And then by just showing up and stumbling into it, he would stumble into the absolute best DJ sets where he just blew apart the entire campground. The whole lake was just him knocking it out of the park. Yeah.
That speaks to where we started. This is about our cognition, what we're able to basically invent. Our cognition is the great inventor, and it's moving along a trajectory, a way. And if that way is clean and that inventing is clean inside the mind, of course the sets are good. He was putting them together inside his mind in real time, innocently.
But
uncontrived.
Not trying to make it happen. Exactly. Uncontrived. And even he'll do really cool, fun, sexy stuff if he's not trying. But if he tries to do something to look cool or sexy in front of something, he'll end up tripping or dropping something. And this innocence will come back by accident of you tried to look cool and now you look silly and you're back to being innocent. But if he doesn't try to make a thing happen, He will stumble into the coolest things, but it's trusting that you don't have to try to make the thing happen from that place of desire, because then you kind of trip yourself up. But if you just kind of trust it and follow your strategy and authority and do all the things, you'll stumble into the coolest experiences. So it's not like you're not doing anything, you're just not trying to make the thing happen.
Innocent. Babies are innocent. Babies get lots of things done, but they don't do any of it.
Cool. So for color 6, motivation of innocence, the left arrow trajectory is the observer, being a watcher, detached and passive, reflects inwardly to stay authentic, and they're a resource. On the converse, we have the right arrow trajectory, which is observed, being an example, thrives when authenticity is seen by others, and acting as a role model.
They end up both acting as the role model, is the thing. The observer is in motion, and that's with a twinge of that desire that puts them in motion. Again, you have to transfer to see it. The innocence has to transfer to desire to know what innocence is, just like we have to experience nighttime to know what daytime is. I mean, this particular transference truly, amplifies that a lot, exemplifies that a great deal. Then as the observed, people are noticing you. They're noticing that rightness. They're noticing what's the scoop with it. They're recognizing that if you start here, or you end up recognizing that if you start here, you started out as the observer looking around, and then you moved yourself into motion, and now you're being observed. Same with the other way around. If you have a left arrow, you start out as the observed. People see you, and then you slowly, as through your detachment, move into the observer. Observing is a very important thing. We got to do it. Sooner or later, you start to observe the other. This is the type of thing where it's not you only move from one to the other, specifically like the bottom 5 lines. Bottom 5, you're moving from one to the other. This is the 6-line process. It's transitional. This process went through a 3rd-line process of desire in the first 28 years. It went through an aloof process, wondering what is innocence. It figures out what is innocence through its chiron and sort of starts to exemplify that innocence. It's a long, slow burn. So we can't ask these things to have a nice dividing line, like the theist and the anti-theist, the leader and the follower. That's a pretty bright line. Those are bright lines. This one, not a bright line.
And yes, the left arrow is the observer and the right arrow is the observed, which seems confusing because if you go into the environment with the body, and the active body is like the observed body kind of thing. So there's a confusion. But for the binary trajectory, the left arrow is the observer because it's the strategic thing to do.
Well, plus so far, all the left-facing arrows have been the sort of more active principle of the binary. Leader, left. Follower, right.
Yeah, a little confusion.
Active, yeah, right. The teacher was on the left and the student was on the right. And this one is sort of seems backwards.
You ready for a question?
Yep.
So Leah asks, Danny, you mentioned about innocent souls like Craig still have to do things. Can you explain more about how he's to do that while remaining in nowness?
Because ultimately, through that innocence, the uncontrivedness is also uncontrived about sitting still. So the uncontrivedness is as things need to be done, the innocence is doing what all 6 lines do, and it's viewing out over the entire circuitry. It's viewing out over the entire thing. In its uncontrivedness, it just needs to be shown. We need to take the trash out. We need to hurry. I hear the truck. We need to hurry right now. The truck is 2 houses away. The innocent will move just fine. Observed or observer, it won't matter is the thing. Innocence needs a certain amount of shepherding and a lot of tolerance and understanding, and then a certain amount more shepherding just to sort of show you need this thing here, you need that thing there, and then the acceptance of their shepherding, because the innocence, just like the fool on the hill, will come down sooner or later off of the mountain and join the village for a task or two. But they don't just always stay aloof or away, 44-6, aloofness. They don't always stay away. Hopefully that answers your question. In the nowness, he just needs to be told and or shown so it can come out of him or not, as a response. Generators, I think, right?
We also got another great comment, which is the name Gregory means watcher or observer. which is kind
What
of
the crap? That's so cool.
that cool. And then, wow, this really answers a lot. Thanks, guys.
All righty. Thank you, Greg. We
Thank
generators, right? Two generators? They both generators?
he's a gen. I think she's a projector, and she also that makes sense because she's his cattle prodder. Like,
Okay.
make him
The
do the
cattle
thing.
prod. So just so Leah, it's true. So don't worry, you hijacked the generative box. It's a good slave. Don't you worry. You'll get plenty out of it. It's just at the times that are a little bit difficult when the moment comes, yes, you're the first prodder. Because that desire won't allow, I mean, that innocence won't allow him to be the first prodder plenty of times. And if you've got a first line motivation, then you are noticing the things. Notice all of the things, and it's perfectly fine. So, and then Greg, you have to be understanding when she comes to you with some of the things, which I
Yeah,
figure you're already doing. Don't mean to talk to you guys like you're in kindergarten. You know?
yeah, you just give him the advice.
Yep.
She says she hijacked a good man because she is a projector. She confirmed that, and Greg is
Yes, you're
a.
penetrating the crap out of him. You got no chance, Greg. She just looked. All she has to do is look at you, bud. It's like that thing. You're gonna have to get those glasses or get that helmet thing that what's his name had in X-Men, right? So no one could get through. You'll need a bodysuit of it. Because as soon as Leah stares and puts her focus on you, that's it.
And then she said, and he has a pocket projector, so they both win.
That's funny.
As our conclusion for motivation, motivation drives your actions and decisions, guiding you toward authenticity. Embracing your motivation's polarity empowers you to act from truth. Avoiding transference ensures you stay aligned with your core drive. By living your motivation, you unlock a life of purpose and clarity, aligning with your unique human design.
And it's that alignment with the uniqueness that does unlock the purpose, that does help start to avoid the transferences that ultimately helps you embrace your motivation as it will empower you through your life. It works exactly backwards. I don't know if you noticed, but I was keynoting all those lines backwards because that's how it ends up making sense to me anyways. So I like this conclusion. Find your motivation, learn to see it, learn to see that it does transfer as a necessity. You can't stay in one or you won't know it. It won't fully make sense. If I didn't transfer, I wouldn't know anything about truly what was my motivation. So allow it, start to watch it, and then ask yourself who's noticing. What is this thing? What I'm really hoping, Moni, is over time I get really good at, and we get good at showing people you have a self-reflected consciousness that sits outside your body and has absolutely nothing whatever to do with the life you live to start with. And it participates because it's your consciousness, but it's totally, totally outside the body. You've got to notice that as you notice something, your consciousness is noticing the vehicle noticing something. That's why I keep asking who's noticing this, which also brings us to the whole thing of this is why we move from, well, because you think you're not happy with this to you think you're not happy with this to, oh, your true self truly is not all that happy with that. And you move through that process. This is the same thing. And so see your motivation, see that it transfers, love the crap out of it. The more you don't understand it is the more you should recognize there's something very exotic here. So if you can't make sense of it, rest assured, just, pick up a little bit of, steal a little bit of the hope motivation for a minute and recognize, don't you worry, it's there. It's there. And through the serendipity of some actions and some uncontrived motions, you will find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the idea of transference being that distraction and that other thing that we could notice to orient ourselves in our true direction. It's like you don't know where you're going if you don't have like a reference point of like, oh, I just left New York and I'm headed to Philadelphia or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No reference point, no magneto, no, none of that. You at least need a compass, dang it.
We just went through motivation and we actually concluded our entire PHS series and our 4 radical transformations. So yeah, we did it.
Yes, and we just did the beginner stuff. We'd have to work on that, over the course of several months with, mentoring people one-on-one. If you really want to know what it is, drive yourself in. Maybe we'll have a class where we get more people sort of share the cost and so forth to lower it all. That would be actually really cool. Indicate your interest and we'll set up a little class and we'll start to go through these things one by one. Bring your charts, bring yourself, and you'll come to know it'll be the coolest thing ever. You radically transform here, you radically transform everything. And you get to your strategy and authority so much easier through the transformation process anyway.
It's super cool.
And just wrap up. So what about motivation, Moni? It's just like, love this thing. It's fun. Your motivation is fun. Fear, don't call it fear. Call it something else. Call it smarts. Call it getting intelligent, and call it intelligence as a motivation.
It's a neat thing to notice if you're acting appropriately. You know, I
Yeah.
can always notice, I'm like, hope it works out for you. Like, it feels weird. It feels like it's like a cop out for me when I'm like, good
It
luck.
feels like a cop out, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
does. But then it's
Yeah.
weird though, because there's a lot of things I'm like, I can't fix this. I literally cannot fix this big thing. Or even if I could help somebody with some information, like they have to want to invite me in to give them that information. So it's like, it's a funny thing to kind of play with and notice within yourself of when you're like, yeah, I want to do it. I want to fix it and I'm going to make that better. And that feels really good compared to like, well, I hope somebody else does it. And how many times when it's like, I noticed that where I'm like, oh, there's a cup on the ground and someone's going to spill it. And I'm always the person to clean it up. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I don't want to be the one who's always cleaning up the mess. And then like 2 minutes later, someone like tripped over it and it spilled all over the dance floor and it became a whole thing. I was like, I should have just picked up the damn cup. Like, I should have just picked it up.
Yeah. I hear you. When I transfer into my innocence, nothing gets done. And my desire sits there like a sad racehorse, looking at the guy with the gun who's going to shoot the gun, looking at the lines that are about to let him start racing, listening to the crowd saying, we're about to race. No race.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what it's like when I get there and stay there for too long. There's a sadness that comes along.
Yeah, I should have done the thing. I didn't do the thing.
Indeed. So watch your transferences, watch these motivations, and take them to heart. They're the first chance you really get to notice this thing below the line that has left you helpless, in a sense, part of you to be what is it your design is designed to do inside of its motivation. So learn to love this thing. It's really good. No one gets away from it neither.
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty wrapped up here.
Yeah, I feel super good. Yeah, play around with it, explore it. I love the whole PHS journey. I really felt it super deeply from getting my digestion in line, eating with the daylight, and my mind felt clearer and it felt like my body was getting better nutrients. And then my body found itself in a better environment that's more of a valley cocooned environment that feels good and safe. And then it shifted over to perspective of like seeing winners and losers instead of being lost in this personal perspective, especially after last week and really talking through the perspective thing. It's really had such a positive effect on me of really noticing like how much I get lost if I pay too much attention to people's personal stories. It will completely override me and like make me go a bit
Because you
cuckoo.
can't fix it.
I can't fix it and it's just too much and like all my open centers and then I get so much more upset about the things that people complain to me about them on their behalf than like they even are. It's absolutely ridiculous when I let myself get too caught up in that personal perspective when I'm supposed to be zoomed out and I'm like, oh, I don't have to give a about all of this. I can be nice, like don't be cruel or anything, but I don't have to get lost in everybody's individual Facebook posts and their Twitter things. I'm like, I don't even care. I don't even want to look at it anymore. I just want to zoom out and see the bigger perspective with power of who's winning and who's losing. And there's this freedom that has completely like overtaken me in a piece. And then now into, okay, my motivation is guilt. I'm supposed to fix it when it's appropriate for me and people invite me to, and I don't have to fix people's personal nonsense because it's not mine to fix. It's like, oh God, thank you. I don't have to fix everyone's everything. That's wonderful.
It's a big deal, isn't it? The way that thing comes around and lets you off the hook. That's what really I've always liked. When you come to see your motivations and all the other aspects, you find you're let off the hook for all the things that you're not. You don't have to be them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what it is there is this, you're let off the hook. I don't have to be this person that I'm not. I don't have to be a generator. I don't have to be a manifester. I'm a projector. I'm just going to be a projector. And I don't have to be the hopeful one. And I don't have to be the one who's caught up in personal things or whatever it is. It's just this kind of sigh of relief that I don't have to try to be the million things that I'm not. I can just be the one Moni that I am.
It's so funny, Moni, because I'm just thinking of myself right now. Second line, manifesting generator 3420, right facing arrows. And I am the king of not wanting to have to deal with what I don't feel like having to deal with. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want the extra responsibility for certain things. And yet at the same time, desire makes me do it. And even if I were transferred into innocence, I would still have to do things. Ultimately, no one gets out alive. You all have to experience your transfer, and you all have to live by this motivation. Recognize it. Don't fight it. That's my final word.
Thanks for liking, subscribing, doing the thing, hanging out with us, and we will see you next week for another awesome episode. Bye, guys.
Much love, everyone. Catch you on the next round.